Good morning, everybody. I just really scared myself. Did you know something was up there? Holy mackerel, I couldn't get the picture to come up. Guess what? I hadn't put the plug in. It's hello, nice to meet you. I'm Deana David. I have no technical skills. Good to see you. Happy Monday. I am sorry about that delay. Whew, now I got to get my heart rate down a little bit so I can run the show in a normal way. It is great to see you. This morning, I'm just looking for my other glasses. This morning we're going to catch up a little bit first. So, not helping. We'll catch up a little bit on the last couple of weeks. I have some pictures I wanted to show you. I'm going to just stick with these. I'm just going to come very close so I can see you all. We're going to catch up a little bit from the last couple of weekends because these have been just remarkably fun and festive fall weekends here in New England. And I want to share what we've been doing with a lot of inspiration crossover for you. And then we are going to transition to today looking at the current issue of Atha magazine, the Association of Traditional Rug Cooking Artists. If you don't belong to the organization and visit one of your local chapters, get on the Atha website, check it out, look it up. It is so good for your heart, for your head, for your creativity, for your time, for your energy, for your inspiration, to find other people who like the same things as you, who you can feed off of, right, in person. But they also publish this magazine, which is completely separate. And this is the issue for October, November 2022, where we are. And we're going to look at this as soon as we finish our catch-up time. Oh, I scared myself so much there for a second there. Before I forget, I wanted to give a few shout-out sort of notes. Kirsten is hosting the group Zoom tomorrow, so be looking for information on that Zoom login, the virtual hook-in, to regular Tuesday, I think 11 to 1. Look for that on the Facebook group, our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. And I have recently figured out how to send messages to buddies who subscribe on YouTube here, but not on Facebook. So I'll also send out a message with that Zoom link. I hadn't thought to do that yet, but I'm going to do that. I also needed to send a message out to to YouTube buddies who are not on Facebook with a link to the ribbon candy hooking blog that I put up over the weekend. If you were with us on Friday for our Friday show, it was a history episode, and it was about witches and inspiration for witches. We looked at a few rugs, but we mostly talked history on Friday night. I like doing that from time to time. I got a lot of good feedback on that too, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. Seasonal talks here. But it was really fun. I felt it was interesting. I learned a lot from running the episode and lots of interesting comments and conversations in the sidebar. Really fun. But I said during that episode that if you were interested in looking at some of the vintage postcard images that can be used for rug hooking, many of them are in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store, but just in general looking at images of vintage postcards for hooking purposes or design purposes, I promised that I would put them together into a blog over the weekend, and I managed to do that very early on Saturday morning. And I put that link out on Facebook, but I will also put that link out on YouTube as a message as soon as I'm done with the show today. So that's happening too. Those are a couple of shout outs. Huge thank you to Patreon supporters who support me there. Be looking out more toward the middle of the week for a second free pattern this month. I wanted to put out one more Halloween pop for you before we hit the big day. We will be returning to our sort of scheduled Halloween month, our spooktacular month of Halloween themes. We're going to be returning to that probably on Wednesday or for cocktail night. We'll have to see how it goes. But today I wanted to cover the Atha magazine before it's ridiculous, right? I don't want to hold up too much longer on that. Just a note so you know, change to our schedule this week. I'm with you obviously right now, again on Wednesday, same time, noon Eastern Standard Time. And this coming Friday, I want to make myself free to do a fall event on Friday night. So I will be running cocktail night, gallery night on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 7 p.m. So our usual cocktail night time, but a different day. So hopefully Sunday works for you too. I thought maybe it'll even be better for some people. So lots of fun, something to look forward to. Gallery night, if you have autumn/Halloween images to send me, drawings, finished rugs, something you're working on, yarn, supplies, anything with a fall theme. I'm hoping for a fall theme, but if I don't have enough for a fall theme, Send whatever is close. I want to be sure we have a lot of content for a long show. Make sure you send those images to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com so I can get those going and get those into our Sunday cocktail night show. So I just wanted to catch up with you a little bit because I've been running around like crazy, and I know a lot of us are friends on Facebook. Aside from work stuff, you're friends with me. My name is Deana David on Facebook, and it's aside from ribbon candy hooking. And I do a lot of fun stuff on the weekends, and I've gotten a lot of questions about where were you in that picture and that kind of thing. We've been killing it fun-wise with the kids because I'm an old mom, right? I'm going to be turning 51 in February, and I have an 8 and 9-year-old. I must have been out of my mind, right? Two best kids in the world, though. Can't complain. So I wanted to catch up with you a little bit and show you what we've been up to before we transition to our episode, our Atha magazine. I'm going to fly through some slides because you might be inspired too, and who knows, maybe you are in this area. So this is what we're doing for content today. We'll be right back to that. Let's see. So these are a couple of the places that we've been recently over the weekend. And we are in Connecticut, right, where we are here. So this is in Granby, Connecticut, Granby. This is an amazing store that I have a feeling everybody who's watching this show would love. It's like a conglomeration of buildings. It seems that this family has bought, this is called, I think, the Mill Pond Shops. It seems like they've bought every building in this kind of notch on this pond. And they all have different things in them. And you go from building to building, and you are just inspired. All of these buildings that were once houses, like Victorian to sort of early 20th century, 1930s houses, you go in and out of all of them. And there are crazy displays, fun things to see. This caught my eye as a pattern idea. They're not all in great repair, but the stuff they're selling is incredibly phenomenal. This caught my idea, these flagstones, because color-wise, they're all pretty different. And in terms of a pattern or a border, like a mosaic border, I thought, unbelievable. We went inside, and this is what greeted us. So crazy, crazy displays of Halloween, holiday, everything. It was just over the top, this kind of thing. And it went on for about, I would say, 20 to 30 rooms. This incredible, sprawling insanity. I'm going to pause for a minute because I forgot to say good morning. I am so sorry. Martha, it is great to see you. Welcome back. I'm so happy to see you. Is it time to talk buttons? I figured you were busy for a while, so I was laying off, but I have a bunch of drawings that are ready to go. Karen, great to see you. Another beautiful day in Colorado. I think I still forgot to answer your question. I'm going to have to come back to you. Ryan, happy Monday. Great to see you. You are getting into sweater weather in North Texas. Exciting. Huge changes. Doreen, great to see you. Raining in upstate New York. The leaves are gorgeous. The leaves are gorgeous here too. I'm just afraid with having so much rain. It's so strategic, the rain. Like it gave, Mother Nature gave us another glorious sunny weekend, lots of fall colors, and then Monday morning it starts pouring. Great, right? That's perfect. But it does make me worry that all of the leaves, just looking out the window, because there's beautiful color out there too, that all of the leaves are going to fall off the trees now with this crazy biblical rain, Linda, good to see you. And you're catching up with each other. Cheryl, great to see you. Cool and overcast in Maine. Oh, one of my favorite places. Oh, Ryan, are you working on a project? Did I miss that? We're finally getting to sweater. Oh, I missed something. Working on a Proddy floor mat. Oh, that is amazing. Maybe send a picture of that for gallery night. You try everything, don't you? Crystal, great to see you. Spooky fog. How appropriate. Sitting over in Nova Scotia this morning, Foghorn soundtrack over Halifax Harbor. Oh, that is so atmospheric. I mean, does it get any better than that? That is super spooky. Oh, I love it. Courtney, great to see you. Good morning. Linda H., great to see you. Cat's Gallery, Jane, great to see everybody this morning. Gayla, oh, great to see you. Says hello to Helen. Is it Helen, my mom? Is she on? Did I miss seeing her? This is usually her. My mom does her art class on Monday, so she might not be tuned in. It's one of our art days. Colleen, great to see you. I wonder what you're working on. I loved your three magi, the gift of the magi, not the gift of the magi, the gifts, bringing the gifts. I'm thinking of the O. Henry story. That is an amazing composition. I love I love compositions that are on the religious side as well as like the commercial side of Christmas. I love them all. That's like the best one I've seen in forever. Andrea, great to see you. You really enjoyed Friday's episode. Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say that. That's really good. I was talking with Jane this morning and we were saying, for Friday nights, they are longer episodes, and I really kind of hunker in when I get going on something. I'm like a dog with bone. And we do our bingo night once a month, and we do our gallery night at least once a month, if not every third week. So I was thinking for those longer episodes on Friday, I might at least over the winter months transition to doing longer subject driven, history driven episodes that cross over into rug making, but that are a bit more like storytelling kind of a show just on the Fridays that are not that are not gallery night or bingo night. So I thought that could be fun because we're getting into some great subjects, some great storytelling as we head toward the holidays. Also fairy tale storytelling because the Design Like class is coming up for me that I'll be giving over Zoom, designing like the fairy tale storybook. That's this month's Design Like series. So make sure you're signed up for that because that is going to be a whole separate conversation that only happens during that class, in which you also produce 10 or 12 finished, well, as finished as you can get them in a 2 hour class, compositions of different fairy tale subjects that we're going to work on together. It's going to be a very different format than past Design Like series, Kayla. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad. Robin, great to see you. Yep, remember to thumbs up. Thank you. Absolutely. That is super helpful. Laura in Central Illinois. Oh, you're getting ready for a retreat in Georgia next week. How fun! What a lot of fun. Make sure you tell us about that. I'm curious to know what you're up to. That sounds great. Lucy in the UK, lovely sunny day in the UK. That's where the sun is. That sounds great. You deserve it. Karen, great to see you. You need to be a tourist in my own state. Don't we all? I mean, don't we all? Jane, where are you in the UK? Oh, that's a good question because Jane is in Wales, Hertfordshire, hoping to move to Lincolnshire. Oh, how fun. Both lovely. Great. I'm just going to be eavesdropping on your conversation there. So let me come back over here. Now, this part that we were in, speaking of where are we, Granby is the last town before the Massachusetts line. So if you're wondering, so I know we have some buddies who are local that might love this place. I just kind of blew through and took lots of pictures of Halloween stuff. My daughter Jocelyn befriended a cricket. And I thought, man, this is so Charles Dickens, isn't it? Isn't it like a Victorian kind of legend superstition that if there's a cricket on your hearth, that is like kind of like foretells wealth and fortune? Well, this cricket would not leave Jocelyn. It turned into a bit of a sentimental tug at the heartstrings when it was time to go because this cricket was like didn't want to leave her hand and she put it next to her on this display of Adirondack chairs and that cricket sat there for 2 hours. He was not hurt, I promise you. He just sat there. Maybe it was her body warmth or something and he kept trying to get on her. And then when we left and we tried to put him away in the grass, he kept jumping back in her hand and she was almost crying and I was almost crying because she's like, the cricket wants to stay with me. And I was like, I can see that. It was a bit heartbreaking. It was one of these weird moments of life. I'm always going to, when I drive by this place, think about the cricket. Here I am outside. I mean, I loved living in Europe, but you can see I can't be anywhere but New England. It's just where I've got to be. And I took some pictures around the place for you because I thought there might be some inspiration here. Some of the yard decorations, bringers of good luck, Colleen. Yeah, I think so. And we've had a great couple of weeks, so maybe it all worked. Ryan, you do, and you got to tell me when you do, of course, so we can get together. All this stuff. I'll slate some days aside, like a whole bunch. So these are all things they had going. And hey, for inspiration, this stuff is great, isn't it? This is like, honestly, there's 4 or 5 buildings here that were just filled with beautiful stuff. All this kind of thing. I mean, do you have stuff like this around? Because I feel like there needs to be a master list of these primitive country stores. Okay, so I'm going to do this more when we get toward Christmas because, first of all, there was Hallmark music playing in this entire building, like what you would hear in the Hallmark Christmas movies. And as I say, it's 20 plus rooms of crazy holiday decorations and collectibles and stuff like that. But I noticed when I walked across here that there was this long pathway, really long, with displays on both sides. And I thought, what's going on here architecturally? So when I left the building, I went around the back and I saw, oh my God, that was a covered bridge. Like, you see that little covered bridge that connects the mill building with the house where I guess people once originally lived? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is like so good. So good. So it's both of these buildings that have like tons of the collectible stuff. Here's Teddy in a different building because they also have this big display of old time candies, like anything that you can think of. Any candy that you can think of is here, is expensive, is worth the calories, all of that. And then I found this, and I posted this on my regular Facebook page, and I think Rita wrote, great idea for a rug. I mean, my stomach, it had the worst cramp. Hey, Stephanie, when I saw this, because I was like, holy mackerel, what is going on here? There's so much bling. These are these things called snaps. Have you seen these? They make jewelry, like different styles of earrings that are like blanks and necklaces and bracelets. And oh, Sharon, are you woefully lacking these things? Oh man, this is the time of year. Nothing like that in Colorado either. Yeah. This is, I mean, New England is so good for this stuff, you know, definitely whereabouts and where. Okay, still eavesdropping. But you snap, you choose the individual ones you want. They're like $5 or $6. They come in two sizes. This was the large size. And you just snap in the ones you want. Like, you know, it's, I guess it's like a Pandora thing, but I mean, come on. These were so beautiful. There were even draws and draws of them. You just, it was crazy. So then we transitioned out to doing some stuff with the kids. And here's Jocelyn, my daughter, doing her new smile. It has no lips. So I'm not sure what's going on here, but this is the new smile. I'm just going to leave it for the time being. But it's adorable, and she's a little treasure. She's got on her buttons shirt for our dog. It's now like 2 years old. But we did some pumpkining around, and I took pictures like this because I thought, huh, do you see a rug design in? I mean, I certainly do. Maybe more of an aerial, but I love the idea of the pumpkins with the slats under it. And I love some of the broken slats too. Some of these pumpkins are so kind of grotesque with their gruesome warts, but weirdly, they're still really attractive. I took lots of pumpkin pictures. Color-wise, this palette too is just crazy. Sharon says, if I were an American, I would live in New England and New Mexico. Yep, that sounds, they're so different, but both really beautiful places with a really distinct feel. Now, everybody knows Indian corn, but the Indian corn, when I looked at it close up, it was like an "Are you kidding me?" moment. The crazy colors. I mean, who knows about Indian corn? If I planted it once and I got one little cob came up and it was super cute and I saved it and it's on display in the living room. It's on top of a picture, on top of the frame, just kind of resting there. But how are they getting such crazy colors? I mean, completely different palettes of like the crazy reds, the purpley blues, the yellows. I mean, it's crazy. I just don't know how this is happening, and I wonder if there are different, because these are even different than these, the ones we just saw, right? These are predominantly yellow, kind of tigery colors, and then this one's more pearly. Like, look at this. This is just, and it's like, I don't know if something sprayed on it to make it that shiny or whatever, but I mean, I was just amazed. And then they took us on a tractor. This was last weekend to the field. We were kind of late in the day. You can see there's not a ton of pumpkins left, but they were all beautiful. There was nothing wrong with any of them. So the kids went and collected some pumpkins. We got like 4. That's a start. We'll carve these. We'll put them outside. Animals will start snacking on them. We'll have to go get more pumpkins. Many of the farm stands here, as you go through, have a little shop that have things that would be interesting for us, like this hooked rug pillow, which I bought and is in the other room for later in the week when I change sets to be in front of the fireplace. You'll see for the first time a little vignette there that includes this rug and lots of primitive Halloween stuff. In the same store Jocelyn found, I didn't end up getting this one, but it's like an old barn board, and they've mounted onto it a rug needle, a shaped rug needle of a witch's hat. So they rugged hook it, whoever hooked it, whoever made it, and I happened to find out that at this particular farm, I forget the name of it, but this is right over the line to Massachusetts, in Southwick, Massachusetts. They're all on the same road, like a dozen farms all on the same road that all have little shops that sell different food products and also gifts. But there is a group of rug hookers that's associated with this building. So they come here to hook once a month or whatever. And they're making little bits and pieces. So I bought one of them. I left that one for the next person. Jocelyn loved these guys, needed to have these two guys. You know, one can never have enough primitive holiday, like full size pumpkin, full body pumpkins. I don't feel. I don't feel like there could ever be enough of those in life. They had things like this too, these little felt needle cats with a stitched bottom coming out of like a little bottle vase or a maple syrup jar or something like that. So cute. I took sneaky photographs of everything because I thought, oh, you might get some ideas here, right? Plenty of ideas to be got. And then, same place, this woolly tree, right? We see a lot of woolly trees. I know Searsport, Cushing, I know a lot of people make woolly trees. I have yet to make a woolly tree, but I will be making one this holiday. And I'm going to be making videos, and it's going to be something that we can do together if you want to. I have the special Sissix tray. The way that they got all of those little ruffly, tassely fronds, right, for the branches, that is a Sissix tray, as in the Sissix cutter, right? The paper cutter that you can get from the craft store, plus Old Tattered Flag makes a tray for the woolly tree. So to have it, to be able to make them in multiples and lots of them, they sell a tray for that, as they do for many things. So I have that tray. So that is something that we will do together when we get closer to the holidays. We'll do that sometime in the month of November. If you're interested in learning that, I'm interested in learning it too. So you'll be learning it with me. We took this train ride. These are the kids, my Ted and my Joss. We took a train ride, which was like these little boxes that somebody made, and he takes you with this tractor through the farm, which is vast, and they have set up all of these wooden cutouts of different characters from Disney movies. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of copyright issues here, but that is okay. Disney has not found them yet. And then stuff like this. I just took some cozy pictures for you in case you like any of these. These are all of the pictures that you're seeing are my photographs. And if any of them inspire you to make a rug, you don't have to ask permission from me to use these photographs. You can absolutely use these photographs to do compositions. It's not a thing. I'm not a photographer. But these are beautiful. We were fighting off the rain all day. We got right to the end and it started raining right when we were getting in the car. But lots of stuff like this. Lots of stuff like this. If you're in a part of the country where you don't have this stuff, go ahead and use these photographs and do some nice fall pictures for next year maybe. Or if you're really fast for this year. Many of the stores, like this one that was mostly food, also sells lots of quilts. I mean, talk about making you crazy, right? Oh, here's me and Ted. Ted hardly ever smiles. I'm not really supposed to call him Teddy anymore. But this was this past weekend when we went to the corn maze. We went to a little flea market first at the Historical Society, and then we went to the corn maze where we knew we would either die trying to get out or have a really fun day. So you can tell, I guess that we made it out. They had tons of stuff like this around that I thought was more fodder, right, for like great compositions, like all of these plants, mums, things like that. Just color wise, everything struck me as being so appealing and attractive. Views like this was on Saturday. I love the old truck with the pumpkins on the back. Me too, Karen. That's such a classic, but sometimes you need a picture of it to get the lines right, right? That's like so fun. So sorry, I just got a message, tracking number missing on something. I'll deal with that a little bit later. So stuff like this, and again, this was this weekend, so different farm, but they had a display of just like the pastelly white gourds. And I was thinking back to Friday's episode about how fire was supposed to have been stolen from the depths of hell, literally, and smuggled out in a pumpkin or gourd, not a pumpkin, a gourd. So that's like leaves it open. But it makes me look at gourds in different ways. Here's my daughter Joss in front of this painted thing that they made between these two huge tobacco barns, and I just thought, man, I'm gonna have to blow this one up. I wish that stupid plastic picnic table wasn't in it, but that's okay. Under the sign, I'm gonna have to blow this one up because I just wish that I felt like this all the time. Once in a while, I do. She feels like this, like every time we leave the house. She's just so excited all the time. It made me so happy. This is another great design idea. So think about these wings. We see them all over the place. It's great to, oh, I had to get rid of this. I was trying to pull this picture up for you. Let me try one more time. No, I can't do it. I put it in and then it slipped too far. Nope. I'm going to have to let go. It was one of Teddy. We were heading into a huge craft fair yesterday. Here's Joss at the craft fair. It was at Roseville House in Woodstock, Connecticut. Oh, there's so many colors of pumpkins, Jane. It's crazy. It's absolute craziness. So there was a great craft fair yesterday. I think I'm going to apply to be in this one next year because you can see there's some wool applique there. That was about as close as it came to what we do. Beautiful big fair at Roseville Cottage, this huge Gothic Victorian pink house in Woodstock, Connecticut, which is a great stop because that's where Donna Swanson's store called Whispering Hill is, same town. So I think I'm going to apply to be there next year. I don't like doing fairs because I can't handle much aggravation in my life anymore. It's pure aggravation schlepping, as you can imagine. But I thought my friend Naomi of Ravensgate Primitives would be there because she was there last time I went to that fair, but she didn't apply this year because it's also the weekend of Rhinebeck, which is a full fiber festival in Rhinebeck, New York, which is only a few hours away. So she's doing that now, and I'm really inclined, just FYI, for next year, I think I'm going to apply. I spoke to the girl about it already. I didn't want to apply again because I didn't want to step on toes, but I've been a member of Historic New England, and that's the host of this huge, it's like a high-end craft fair. I've been a member of Historic New England for many years, so I feel like it's a good fit if I do that, and I think I will. It was super inspiring walking around this fair yesterday. Tons of glass. Do you know how many stalls had glass pumpkins with curly stalks? Not to minimize how fantastic they are. Joss wanted all of them. They were like $50. I mean, they're works of art. You would expect them to be, but she wanted one in every color, you know. Tons of glass, tons of potters there. Beautiful. Incredible amounts of jewelry. No textile art. No weavers, no spinners, no yarn. Um, so I thought that needs to be fixed. There needs to be. There was one woman who made teddy bears, and she had 2 or 3 punch needle projects that were affixed to the lid of like shaker boxes. And then that wool applique. That was about it. I was expecting to take lots of pictures. I thought Naomi would be there, and I was going to do a video for you and take a bunch of pictures for today's episode. And I was calling her on the phone the whole time going, I can't find your stall. It's like an hour and a half for me to get to this fair. Can't find your stall. Where are you? Oh, I'm over on the side, the left-hand side in Building C. And I'm asking people, where's Building C? There is no Building C. I said, well, there must be. She's here today. And like, um, you know where I'm going with this. Eventually, I went up to the information stall and I said, I'm looking for my friend. Who's your friend? Ravensgate Primitives Rug Hooking. Oh, she's not here this year. She didn't apply to come this year. So then I called back and I said, Naomi, like, where are you? I mean, like, where are you in the world, not at the fair? And she's like, I'm in Rhinebeck, New York. And I said, well, I'm in Woodstock, Connecticut. So here's our problem. Classic, right? But anyway, it was wonderful. Oh, thanks, Jane. I was trying to make sure they showed a little bit. TJ Maxx is great for Halloween jewelry, isn't it? So let's transition now. I realized that I'm seeing that my slideshow for this magazine hasn't loaded yet, which is great, but it's not going to stop us from starting to look at this issue of Atha magazine, which is amazing. I mean, this really is a great issue. And again, I'm just going to look at it. I don't want to make a total spoiler alert. I'm going to look at a couple of the articles and tell you about the features that are in it. If you don't subscribe to Atha, you should. Let's see what the deal is for subscribing, just so we know. Subscribe a gift. Pay, start, and renew subscriptions online at www.atharugs.com. Simple as that. Or you may simply mail this card in. You're not holding the card, I am. But it's 6 fabulous, and they are all fabulous. Every single one of them, never a weak issue. 6 fabulous issues each year. Cost for US is $32. Cost for Canada is $34. So I think that is well worth it. And you're supporting an organization that is all about rug hooking, right? So that is also important. That is super important. So without the benefits of the pictures that are not loaded, let's look at some of the main features of this particular issue. Karen says, our craft is time consuming. The materials can be pricey. Buyers don't understand. No, that's so true. That's so true. And you know, when I think about the idea of having a stall, because I have had stalls at fairs in past years. And I'm not good at selling. I don't know if you've noticed that. I always hate talking about Patreon, and I'm just not good at that part of it. And I'm even worse in person. But in the past, I've set up stalls that have like stations where you can practice rug hooking or punch needle. And oh, that reminds me, I have something else to show you. We are going to get to Atha. I swear we are. Um, it's always tricky to figure out what to sell at a stall. So I want to talk about it between now and then because I noticed in our Facebook group some people were posting, I would like to sell my rugs. Remember, if you do want to sell them, get in touch in Niantic, Connecticut. What was it called? Red Salt Box, I think, right on Main Street, Niantic. It's a primitive shop. She is looking for hooked rugs to sell in the shop. So feel free to get in touch with her. If you want to do it via me, I go there a lot. So if you want to do it via me, you can also do that. Send some images to Ribbon Candy Hooking, and I'll walk them over to her next time I drive by, which is often. So either of those things work if you want to get going with your selling. It might also be that if you have things you want to sell, you might want to send them to me and I can sell them maybe next year at the craft fair. These are all things that we can talk about because we have 362 days to discuss it before I'm hopefully at that fair. Oh, let me just show you this really quick. I woke up at an insane hour to work on this because I have a class coming up in Madison, Connecticut next month, November. And I'm going to do a punch needle class this time because I normally do things that have to do with rug hooking. So about once a year I do a punch class there. And I wanted to do one of do you remember the series that we did on Coffee Time on Helen Albee, who had the mission in New Hampshire, and her personal taste was to do rugs that had a Native American feel to them? She only did those. But unfortunately, in the book that she published, remember these episodes? It was a bit of a punchline. She didn't actually include any images of rugs in the book, which was super confusing and disappointing. Not even drawings. But at the end of the book, she had a series of like recipes for dyes that she used. And I followed the dyes as closely as I could to come up with a color palette that later became and is still available on Ribbon Candy Hooking, a swatch set called the Abenaki Swatch Set. Right? So they're based on Abenaki designs. And I put out a series of designs that are, without knowing what her patterns look like, with the exception of 3 that are known online, I put out a series of Abenaki style designs based on their ideology, symbolism, and their motifs using Helen Albee's colors. So this class will revolve around, I had to modify an Abenaki design because for a beginner class it was just too much, right? So this is the design that I chose. It's a modified path, and you can see I'm working it out as I go. This is called Path Through the Mountains. It's very different than the one on the Ribbon Candy Hooking site, but I punched just the outline so far, and you'll see it doesn't look good when you start it like that, and I got to pull some loops through better. It does have some color changing in it in the black. It's not a solid black, but it's going to be real pretty, and I want to just show you the color palette. You know what? I'll post a photo later. I did the color palette for the Abenakis. No, I won't. I guess I'm going to show you right now that I thought were really, the Abenaki color range included a lot of golds and a lot of pinks and a lot of turquoise. And I didn't want to go in November that full blast with sort of what I would consider Santa Fe colors. So this is the color palette I chose. So we've got a couple of shell pinks, kind of a light rust terracotta, kind of drab green, silvery gray, a couple of browns, a white, a kind of fawn khaki, and I don't know if you can tell if that top one, but that's like a kind of a spearmint green. So I thought, I love this color palette. I'll take a photo later so you can see it better. But that's super exciting, and if you're in the area and you want to do punch with me, this is going to be a really, really fun class. Let's go. So let's see. The first article in here was super nice by Agnes Durda, and it's called Workshops for Parents of Handicapped Children. So this really appeals to me because my son Ted is autistic, and doing artistic stuff with him has always been like a game changer. So this is a really, really great article that talks about tactile perception, muscle tone disorders, poor perception of shapes, all different kinds of things that can occur. that are things that are not necessarily kind of hardwired with people who have different kinds of handicaps. So it really walks you through the practical parts of teaching children who have special needs and therefore do special work, different work, unexpected, great medium. Rug making is a great medium for them. Thanks, Jane. Just making sure I didn't miss anything here. Oh, Barb, great to see you. Barb, I was in for those photos. I was right on the line between Granby, Connecticut, and I crossed over to Southwick, Massachusetts. It's one road there. It's called Salmon Brook Road. I think it changes the name from Salmon Brook at some point, but there are about 20 farms going all the way up to Granville, Massachusetts, and they all have little shops where if you're local, you could sell things too. They're always looking for local people to sell stuff. Now, the next article is the one that has got me going in a huge way, and it is by Candy Garbaz, I think it is Garbacz, of Lake Orion. MI is Michigan, right? MI is Michigan. I always get confused by the M's. Ryan says, amazing to bring handicapped accessibility to craft. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be able. Absolutely. And you know what I find this article about, rug making with for parents of handicapped children. What I find, and of course every child is different, and even like our particular situation being spectrum, even spectrum kids can be very, very different. But I do find that once in a blue moon, and it's like the song Aquarius, like Mars has to whatever with Venus for it to happen. But once in a blue moon, Ted will settle. I'm going to say Teddy. I can't say Ted. I'm going to say it to his face, but I'm not going to say it here. He'll settle down enough to be able to do something like punch or work on something hooking. It's rare for him to focus like that. But when he does, he locks in and it becomes a robot, which is like a trait, for a spectrum child. And he becomes very mechanical. But it's so hard sometimes for the hand and the brain to work in tandem. It's just not always available. And it just makes me think back to when I was growing up. I don't think that the nuns in our classroom picked up 32 kids for 8 years together in that same classroom, right? It's a bit like Little House on the Prairie. It's 1 out of 30 people are on the spectrum, are autistic. There probably was an autistic person in our class or the class before, the class after. Never heard about that, right? There probably was, but the nuns wouldn't have picked it up in those days. And it's so nice now that we know what part and parcel goes with being different or having different challenges and being able to help people in the way that this article describes, to be able to bring things forward to them and offer things that might really play on what you think of as a weakness, right? But turns out to be a strength, the ability to really focus like that and get that done. Oh, April, great to see you when the moon is in the 7th house. There it is. And Jupiter aligns with Mars. There it is. I haven't heard that song for a while. I love it. So that brought me to this article, which is incredible. I'm going to read this one, and I'm not going to read all, of course, because I don't want to spoil the entire magazine. But this one really resonated for me. It's about American coverlet designs, because obviously this crosses over with rug making in a huge way, and we've done so many episodes lately, ever since that field trip to the Florence Griswold house. That exhibit is closed now, but remember our group who's local met there, about 30-something of us got there to see the coverlets exhibit that included both bed rugs that were sewn and quilts and all kinds of coverlets, overshot, things like that, a few wovens, I think. I don't think it was all needle. I think it was a few wovens. But anyway, this really touches on that. But these featured pictures, I'm going to have to show you like this since my slideshow didn't load in time, the slideshow for the magazine. I'll have it next time we're on, though. These really remind me of those kinds of textiles, right? And when I'm seeing the images here, and I'm going to give shout outs to the makers of these two. When you're looking at images like this, you see that there is a lot of patterned wool, right, in the top and bottom. And look at the way the edges are done. I mean, it truly looks like a different kind of a textile. I mean, doesn't it really look like it's like a bed rug or something? I mean, it's meant to look like a coverlet, and it does. it's just remarkable how the material takes on the personality of the intended thing, which in this case is a coverlet. I just think it's remarkable. So this image that I just showed, the horse image, and I'll show you these closer up on our next episode on Wednesday so that you can see them on the slide. It will certainly have loaded by then. I was loading everything this morning. Camptown Races. This is a small mat, 10 by 19, designed and hooked by Candy Garbas. I'm going to say Garbas because it's CZ at the end. I'm never sure how to say that. Oh, this is a study for a larger rug. So she just hooked this to get it ready for a study for a larger rug. You see there's 3 colors in there. It's like, it's almost like they're the same material, but in different colors. Right? This one's like, it has the same kind of pattern. Like, I'm thinking herringbone. This is like a red and white. In the middle, there's a black and white, and at the bottom, there's a green and white. Amazing, right? So that one's called Camptown Races. Sing this song, doo-da, doo-da. And this one, Meyer coverlet, 29 by 31, Woolly Fox Designs. That's this one here. And you see there is a striping in the background running through it, right? That is a feature of a coverlet because a coverlet is a woven traditionally. So what these rugs are doing is they are imitating the idea of a woven fabric. And how are they doing that? They're doing it with color change in the background, just the way a woven is. So interesting. So the article goes like this. And again, these are Candy's words, not my words. I'm reading right from the article here. As the weaver's shuttle glides through warp threads, a rhythm of motion begins to form. Okay, that reminded me of another Broadway song. That one from, I'm stopping, that one from, oh, Sweet Charity, the rhythm of something, you know what I mean? The raising and lowering of the heddles in repetition motion on the loom creates sounds that reverberate over and over. Slowly, thread by thread, patterns form, colors intertwine, cloth is made. So too does that familiar rhythm begin for the rug hooker. Wool is cut, loops are formed, repetition motion pulls each loop, and though the process is quieter, the same flow of colors move through the linen to create rich and beautiful images. And I think this one must be done by Candy too, because it doesn't say otherwise. My love of weaving and of rug hooking came together at an interesting intersection in my life a few years ago. I had the good fortune to visit the Museum of the American Coverlet in Bedford, Pennsylvania. Who's been there? Who's been to the Museum of the American Coverlet? That's going to be on my list for over the winter. I didn't even know that existed, I'm ashamed to say. That visit brought back a flood of memories from my early childhood. Oh, here we go. I hope I don't choke up. A rich cranberry and cream coverlet graced the bed of my great-grandfather. It was one of the few bright and colorful objects that were the legacy of my great-grandmother. She had a great love of fibers and flowers. Oh, this is so beautifully written. It's incredible. It was reflected in the things that remained inside and outside of his tiny house. Remnants of a lovely flower garden and a coverlet and embroidery that still remained under the kerosene lamp and on his kitchen table. Memories of a woman I never met, but her influence has been with me. I hate it when I do this, right? Her influence has been with me my entire life. I should read these articles first to save myself these moments. The coverlet was always smooth and neat. Pulled taut and tucked under his pillow, it glowed in the light that filtered in from the window. At night, it was always folded neatly at the foot of the bed, the warm colors creating an inviting scene through the doorway. Many years later, in 2019 to be exact, the memories of that coverlet returned when I visited the museum. I had the opportunity to view an exhibit of coverlet patterned rugs created by rug hookers throughout the county. Okay, now wait a minute. When was this? 2019, so that's probably not there anymore. I also spent several days pursuing the museum and its myriad of coverlets and attended an annual event that they hold entitled The Coverlet College. The Coverlet College. What an exceptional opportunity. I learned so much about the history of coverlets, their makers, where they were made, and the process they used to create these textiles. Coverlets are bed covering. They are woven on large looms by home makers. Originally, 2 to 3 patterns were woven and then stitched together to make a bed covering. Using mainly homespun wool that was grown and processed locally, these first coverlets implemented geometric designs. Yarn was dyed using natural dyes, or the natural colors of the sheep wool were used to create contrast. Oh, now that's interesting, because if you think about it, I wonder if it would have been, and I wonder if it's even common. It might be. Marcia, great to see you. I have interesting, beautiful, detailed coverlets in more colors than I ever knew. Oh, interesting. Oh, you've been to that museum. Oh, interesting. Kind of dying to go now. Cindy, you're busy at work. Understood. We will see you later. We'll be here for you later. You know, I'm thinking with the stages or the stacking of colors, right? All of those shelves of colors that run through these coverlet rugs, right? Like little stripies. I bet you could have done that back in the day, even if you didn't have time to fool with dye. I bet you could have done that with different sheep, right? Even if you wanted like a bunch of whites, browns, grays, and blacks, you really could be running through just the natural and still have all of those different shelves of color. Interesting. Um, Things to think about. After the Revolutionary War, jacquard looms were brought over from England, and the world of the coverlet was soon to change. Jacquard looms were actually predecessors to the computer. I heard about this when I toured a historic house, the Winslow Crocker House on Route 6A, and I think Barnstable on Cape Cod recently. They, I think we might have talked about this briefly at coffee time. They had some coverlets that looked like this with striped out backgrounds, stacked colors. And the guy said to me, this is one of those coverlets that is believed to be the inspiration for the first IBM computer. So that's interesting that they touched on this in the card, because he was an older guy and he said, I can't like verify that information, but it is believed that he saw these coverlets and understood how they were made, and it helped him to evolve the idea for the IBM computer. Uh, Punch cards were used to lift and lower the heddles in specific patterns. It gave weavers the opportunity to weave beautiful designs that might include floral arrangements, animals, architecture, and elaborate designs such as scrolls. So I'm going to pause there for a second, because I just want to recap and say, Candy had just said that up to a certain point, the only designs were geometric. So I think what she's saying is now, with the introduction of the jacquard loom being the newest piece of technology, you are no longer limited to just the geometrics. You are now able to go in the direction of elaborate designs like animals, flower arrangements, scrolls, all kinds of different things, a bit more evolved than just the geometric. So that's really interesting, right? That's really interesting, because you do get some busier designs quite early in the history of the coverlet timeline, right? Interesting. That just reminded me of something else. Now, I don't know the answer to this. I'm putting it to you. How different do you think, because I'm not a weaver, how different is the idea of this punch card on a jacquard loom that sort of dictates where the heddle goes? How different is that from a player piano, right? I mean, I'm a ding dong, and I also don't play piano, unfortunately. But I just wonder how different that technology is, because I don't know the timeline for either next to each other when that technology came in. Karen says, it appears that the museum has a Facebook page and a rotating exhibit of 80 to 100 coverlets. All right, so make sure that you get online and that you become a Facebook, if you're on Facebook, a Facebook you like you're a friend of the Museum of the American Coverlet in Bedford, Pennsylvania. I think we need to swoop down and descend on them, see what they got going on there. It sounds like textile heaven. I'm going to do that as soon as the show is over, too. Bed coverings became works of art that brought color, design, and beauty into the home. The invention of the cotton gin also led to the popularity of woven goods. Cotton could now be turned into a strong, colorful, and relatively inexpensive yarn that was durable and plentiful. In the period between 1810 and 1850, the mills were kept busy with the demand. The jacquard weavers were kept busy creating coverlets of their own design. God, how much fun would that be? Can you imagine how busy that time was and how exciting it was being one of those people who was creating your own designs and looking to see what other people were coming up with? That must have been such a kind of hornet's nest of excitement, everybody feeding off everybody else, a weaving Bloomsbury, right? These weavers became known for the patterns they created and for some of the creatures they included in their designs. Ooh, that's interesting. Creatures. I wonder what kind of creatures they were, right? It brings all kinds of, I'm thinking like little animals, forest folk, fairies, mythical creatures. Soon, consignments from wealthy and middle class people filled the weavers' workshops with high demand. And this is a rabbit hole. So what does this have to do with rug hooking? Everything is my answer. In looking at these coverlets, I was impressed with the intricacies of their design and the textures that were created by the weaving structures. You know, that's the finger on the nail on the head, isn't it? The textures. That's these rugs, the only two we've looked at so far. The word is texture. That's what it evokes. It's like there's something so tactile to it that goes above and beyond like the look of an average hooked rug. Like this is something real specific. I think in looking at something like this with all that color change in the background, your brain automatically knows about coverlets and it's layering everything that you know and you've seen about coverlets and the way that they are very textured. You know, if you ever run your hands, they're not smooth at all. It's like braille, right? Everything that your brain knows about that, it's layering it onto this image that you're seeing. So all of that is going to be built in because you already have a bit of foreknowledge on that subject. So what does this have to? In looking at these coverlets, I was impressed with the intricacies. Okay, we did that. I set out to hook rugs that in some respects emulated these woven textiles. Traditionally, coverlets have a background color and a motif color. Because they are woven, the yarns need to be carried from one side of the fabric to the other. That carry over can sometimes be reflected in a blending of the two colors as they move through the warp. I have tried several wool textures to achieve a variety of color intensities. Herringbones, textured wools, small plaids, and cobblestone wools are just a few of the visual textures I've experimented with. They have provided plenty of color and texture choices when used alone or in combination with other textures in the palettes I chose to explore. Traditionally, coverlets are woven in red, white, and blue. Those were colors that were color fast and widely available. As more dyes became available, the addition of green and yellow were added to the weaver's palettes. I chose to stay within these color constraints to work on these particular rugs. This not only limited my choices, but allowed me to focus on the design itself as I worked. Directionality was also important. To achieve the feeling of a woven piece, I chose to work mainly in a horizontal format throughout the piece. I created a visual texture that carried through the entire piece. In 1855, Cranston, I'm going to show you this piece, the narrow lines did not lend themselves to this technique. Well, I'll show you this. So I hooked the linear design and let it follow its own flow. The strength of the horizontal hooking helps the eye to follow the weaving texture and is not too disturbed by this variance. Interesting. So let me show you. Okay. Oh, God, do I love this piece. Okay. So this is Cranston. And again, I will run through these again on Wednesday just so we can see them better. You see, again, what she's talking about directionality. She's talking about flow. She's talking about the way that weaving looks, having to, by nature of the craft, pull the color from one side to the other. Hi, Barb. Happy fall. Oh, you too. This is just, I love the colors. And again, she just let us know that green and yellow were recently introduced, and she's using green in the center and two yellows here. God, I just love this so much. I love this so much. Cranston version 1, 21 by 25, Woolly Fox pattern designed by Barb Carroll. More on that too, because there's an article on Barb Carroll that we'll get to on Wednesday. So that's Cranston version 1. Here's Cranston version 2 on top, right? So just look from a distance first. This is version 1. This is version 2. And you see how with this one, she's the directionality that she's talking about, the directional hooking is a horizontal. And the motif, remember how she said with these coverlets, traditionally the motif is one color and the background is a different color. So almost like a woodcut feel to it. The dark is the motif and the stripies, that's the background color. This one is very different. You see, she's handling it very differently. It still looks like on a take on another textile, but it's obviously very different. And here's a close-up of that second one. And you see how there are changes? Right, that makes a big difference because when you see these textiles, sometimes there are little repairs or there's little pulls and you do get those moments of interruption, right? It's like there's static and then there's some kind of weird interruption that draws your eye that creates interest. And she has captured that in the hooking of that piece. Coverlet patterns do not have to be hooked using this stringent formulae. The Hesse giraffes, I don't know that word. I'm guessing it's like French, like it's pulling from Hessian, but I'm not sure. The giraffes are hooked using traditional rug hooking color planning and techniques. They are colors I chose to allow the design to evolve in an entirely different concept, only demonstrates how versatile these designs can be. So this is the one she's talking about. And while I love this article, I don't love this one as much as the others, only because this to me is a home run. It's 100 out of 100. I love it. I would love to buy it. But now that you got me going on the coverlets, for me, this is killing me. Just the idea of the translation of that textile to this textile. The giraffes are amazing. But it does, for me, it doesn't make the same point as these others. These are like learning samples as we go through. I'm so focused on the traditional coverlet designs. But with the giraffes, she's making the point that once that jacquard loom came in, you could do elaborate designs that look like Jacobean crewel work. Right, so that makes a lot of sense. That's a great example of what you can do with them. These look so early American to me, though. And, oh, God, is that my sweet spot? Exploring coverlets has been a thought-provoking and interesting journey. I've learned quite a bit about the history, a lot about fibers and their creation, and enjoyed the designs created by artisans of a different era. I'm not finishing exploring this phase of rug hooking yet. I still have designs on my frame and in my pattern box that I have made to keep my interest piqued. There are many more designs to hook and ponder over. Looking in depth at a subject and a technique has made me want to delve deeper into the history and the making of these beautiful textiles. I feel a kindred spirit with the designers who worked over 200 years ago to create things of beauty that people could use and enjoy. Art for every day enhances our enjoyment of our living spaces and our lives. I hope this inspires you to look at the objects you enjoy and to find ways of interpreting them in your rug hooking. Whew, that I think is my favorite article I've ever read in Atha magazine. Honestly, I think this is my favorite one ever. This is just like worlds colliding, because if you were to show me a coverlet like this, or if I were to see one, I would be dying. I would already be like panting because they're so beautiful. But to see them done as a hooked rug is just, it's such a game changer. Just scratch the surface of this issue of Atha magazine. Amazing article. So we looked at two of the features on Wednesday. We'll pick Atha magazine up again, and we'll look at just a few of the other features in here that I thought were exceptionally fun. There are a lot of, Atha is a very visual magazine, and there are many, many pages, galleries upon galleries that are rugs hooked by Atha members of the different chapters for use in the Atha magazine, that are hooked designs of advertisers' patterns. So there's tons of galleries of those, but I'm going to on Wednesday, look at some of the feature articles in here too. But just know, besides the feature articles, there is such crazy eye candy, tons and tons of eye candy, all of these galleries of advertisers' art. Again, Hooked by Atha chapter members. Super fun, super fun. So let's return to the conversation on Atha Magazine on Wednesday. I'll be with you Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And then remember, we are going to run cocktail night this week, but it's going to fall on Sunday. So no show Friday. I'm going to run our cocktail episode on Sunday, Sunday night, 7 p.m. So same time, different day, but still this weekend. Hopefully that works for you. Make sure that you are sending me your images for gallery night. I'm looking mostly for Halloween and fall images. I would love to have yours. If you're wondering, are they good enough? Do I dare send them? They are good enough, and you must send them. Honestly, they are good enough, and we want to see them. So be sure that you send them. I will see you on Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Look out for Kirsten's message and the message that I'm about to send to YouTube subscribers with the link to the images from Friday's past cocktail night. Look tomorrow for information, YouTube subscribers and not Facebook people, on the Zoom login for Kirsten's live hook-in tomorrow, Tuesday. I will see you on Wednesday. Have a great today and tomorrow. I'll see you then. Oh, Karen said, sorry, I have to add one more thing. I wonder if the reason the American flag is red, white, and blue was because they were color fast colors. I don't think so. I think we were still with flags. We were still looking at colors that symbolized specific traits. But I will research that. I'm not sure, but I think that each color has a special meaning because there are so many countries with flags that are red, white, and blue in different orders. Like France also has the blue, white, and red, and the Netherlands has the red, white, and blue, but the vertical stripe. So I think it's more color symbolism than it is like durability of fabric. But I will research